Ladies and gentlemen, live from the famous ACME Comedy Theatre in Hollywood, it's the ACME Radio Hour featuring the Liquid Radio Players. And now, please welcome to the stage, Mr. David Cox.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the ACME Radio Hour, starring the Liquid Radio Players, where we provide the finest in old-timey radio entertainment. Sadly, due to a typographical error, all of our scripts for tonight have been lost in a Zeppelin accident, so there will be no show. There will be no refunds. Enjoy your evening! Well, I suppose we could just make something up. Well, all right. Then we'll be providing the finest in improvisational 40s-style radio entertainment. Now, tonight, it's a horror! So, from you, we need the title of our horrific presentation. So just throw some nouns and verbs together, perhaps an adjective, an adverb, if you're feeling adventurous, and give us a title for tonight's horrible story.
The Smelly Toad.
The Smelly Toad?
Toad.
Horrific. Excellent. The Smelly Toad. Now, they were very appreciative of your title, sir. Now, we need some names for our players. So first of all, give me a powerful sounding name.
Hank.
Hank what? Hank Menkowitz. Very powerful sounding. It's from the Smelly Toad fellow. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Now I need a foreign sounding gentleman's name. Xavier. Xavier, and then from this side, what's our last name for Xavier? Xavier Legrandeur. Excellent. Realize, folks, there's not a throng of you here tonight, so you need to work together and speak up. Excellent. I'll make it a little easier. You, sir, what's your first name?
Ron.
Brian? Ron? Yes. Susan? Yes. Ron, excellent. And madam, what's your last name? Eggerdahl. Ron Eggerdahl. There, you see how easy that was? Yeah. And ma'am, what's your first name? Laura. And what's your last name?
Schuster.
Laura Schuster. Laura Schuster. But as we need another lady's name. So just make up a lady's name, an old-fashioned lady's name.
Janet.
Janet. Very old-fashioned. And the last name for Janet?
Baggett.
Janet Baggett. Janet Baggett. She must have had a very rough childhood. And finally, just a one-word name.
Bort.
Bort. Bort. An excellent name. Bort. Fantastic. Now, as you know, radio isn't free, so we need some sponsors for tonight's show. What's a thing you would use around the house here in 1943?
Nails.
Nails. Exactly. Nails. And what's your last name, sir?
Eggerdahl.
Also Eggerdahl. Let's take someone else. What's your last name?
Ray.
Ray. Ray's Nails. Ray's Nails. And what's something the lady of the house might use?
Rocks.
Rocks. Are you married, sir? Are you? Then you're making some horrible mistakes. All right. Well, rocks. What type of rocks?
Chicken rocks.
Chicken rocks. Seriously, sir? That's all still from you. Chicken rocks. And what's there in the back? What's your last name? Drake's Chicken Rocks. The finest chicken rocks available today. And finally, an actual real product. What? Soap. What type of soap? Black soap. But I'm sure that was a real product somewhere. Black soap. Let's recap. The title of our story is The Smelly Toad, starring Hank Menkowitz, Xavier Legrandeur, Ron Eggerdahl, Laura Schuster, Janet Baggett, and the mysterious Bort. Brought to you by Ray's Nails, Drake's Chicken Rocks, and Black Soap. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as much as I've enjoyed my time with you, I'm not the host for tonight's show. No, that honor and privilege belongs to this man, the man with the face of radio, Mr. Craig St. Tollifson!
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cox. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight I will be your guide in the mysteries of the world. But in order to have a proper touring party, we'll need actors. So please, put your hands together and bring out the liquid radio players. These are some of the finest actors money can buy. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we present to you a horror hour. Now, waste no time in introducing our characters for our studio audience. First of all, tonight, on FOLEY, Gary Ray. You may hear the sudden clatter of something falling. Don't turn around and try to pick anything up. It's just the Foley artist. Thank you, Gary. Also tonight, in a recurring role as Hank Mankiewicz, Steve Benaquist. Hank Mankiewicz. Down on his luck, but powerful, he had returned from the war with a crippling injury. He wished he was back fighting the Japs, but he couldn't. His crippling injury prevented him from that. And the headaches, would they ever go away? Only if he took aspirin. Yes, Hank Mankiewicz was going out for job interviews today to try to find something to forget and to get on with his life and to forget about the horrors he had seen in the war. Hank Mankiewicz. Also tonight, as Hank Mankiewicz's long-suffering wife, Laura Schuster, played by Sue Peahl. Yes, Laura Schuster / Dash Mankiewicz. She had waited for him since they were high school sweethearts. He had proposed just as the ship was pulling away from the shore. And of course she had shouted yes, and he had said, "What?" And she had waited until he returned, and then they were to be married. And he had returned, and they were married. But he was a changed man, not the happy-go-lucky football hero she knew. She only wanted to be a housewife, but she would support him no matter what he did. Laura Schuster. And tonight, of course, as Xavier Labrandu, Dave Cox. French biologist Xavier Labrandu was known all over the world for his discoveries of new species that were not known to the world or thought long extinct. He was on an elusive quest, some say a foolish quest, for he hadn't found anything in nearly 10 years. But there was one creature he was after that he was determined to find no matter what. And that's what brought him to Massachusetts. Xavier Labrandu. Also tonight, in a guest starring role, is Ron Eggerdall, Brian Giovanni. Ron Eggerdall, taxi driver. He knew every nook and cranny because his was the only taxi in this small town in Massachusetts. Ron's taxi service. Sure, he knew everybody and everybody knew him. He was about the friendliest man you could ever meet. But that he would take the long way and chew your ear off if he was going to do anything. Ron Eggerdall. Also tonight is Janet Baggett, Kimberly Lewis. Janet Baggett, yes, she owned the local coffee shop and was the longtime girlfriend to Ron Eggerdall. Why, they never seemed to have much time together, with him driving the taxi and her manning the coffee station all night for the passing truck drivers to come to. But her times were tough, and her cafe was down to its last penny, and she had watered the coffee so much it had turned nearly white. But Janet wasn't about to give up yet, not on Ron or not on her cafe. Janet Baggett. And, of course, tonight in a special role as Bort, Gary Ray. Bort's origins were shrouded in mystery. Was he a man? Yes, clearly he was a man. But how could a man grow so tall, so wide, that most door frames strained to accommodate him? And how had he come to be Xavier Labrandu's manservant? Why, maybe we'd hear that story, but whenever anyone asked Xavier, Bort and Xavier would simply laugh. Bort. Tonight's story is brought to you by Ray's Nails, Drake's Chicken Rocks, and, of course, our sponsor for the evening, Black Soap. Black Soap for when you're feeling a little too clean. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go on the air, I'd like to introduce one more. You may hear sounds today that you wonder how they could be so beautiful and haunting. Why, don't worry, you're not going insane. That's simply Jonathan Green on keyboard. Ladies and gentlemen, I've just gotten the word that our scripts have finished typing themselves up. I've already passed them out. I'd like to remind you at this time that today's show is scary. You may be frightened down to the craw of your neck or the nook of your cranny. I warn you, listen carefully. Any detail that might escape you could drive you mad. I've gotten the finger. It's time. We're about to go on the air in 3, 2, 1.5. Tales of Intrigue. The ACME Radio Hour presents the Liquid Radio Players Horror Hour in 50-minute form. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Craig St. Tollifson, and tonight I must bring you a warning. This show is being listened to in another room by a doctor, a psychologist, and a military physician. If at any time they deem it too terrifying, our transmission will be abruptly cut and you will be ushered from the theater and counseled. Those with weak wills, I urge you to switch off your radio now and go to your rocking chairs. Episode number 16, The Smelly Toad. We catch up to world-renowned biologist Xavier Labrandu as he is arriving on a small boat near the docks of a Massachusetts town that barely has a name. A name that anyone would care about, anyway. He stood on the prow of the ship looking out as the mists parted in the evening light, and the dim headlights of a cab waited for him, the only cab in the area, of course, Ron Eggerdahl's cab. And the ship listed as another creature moved about on it. As Bort shifted forward with the bags they carried, the ship moved in an opposite direction.
It won't be long, my gargantuan friend. I feel our long hunt is coming to an end.
At last. At last.
Yes. You there, on the shore!
He threw a rope around the dock and pulled the ship close to him, and stepped off and made his way, just as the cab driver stepped out of his cab and into the deep, thick mud sucking at his shoes.
Ahoy there! Passenger at the docks!
Yes, you have arrived. You obviously received my wire.
Got it moments ago, my good man. Not a moment too soon.
Yes, I will be requiring transportation into your charming hamlet.
That's what Ron does here, see? Transportation all the way around this here Massachusettsburg. It's what I do best.
Ah, are those cookies for passengers?
Absolutely.
Well, they look absolutely scrumptious.
Chocolate and macrame. Here's what ails you.
Cookie.
Whoa,
What?
Oh, hey, whoa.
Careful! Do not raise his sugar level, lest there be danger.
They piled into the cab, and Ron drove them down the only road in the docks.
Ah, tell me, my young motor friend, have there been any strange incidences here in your local town?
Plenty. Well, hey, watch it, sir. Watch it.
Perhaps the disappearance of small children or midgets?
He pulled the paper that was sitting next to him, the local rag. It was called The Local Rag. The headline said, "Children of Midget Gone Missing."
Aha! I knew it! I knew we were getting closer to him.
To him, sir.
It's just a French expression.
Ah, say no more. I myself am not that worldly. But if you seem to know this man and your endeavors, I shall not pry.
Yes. Take me to a local boarding house or hotel or casino.
Well, luckily they're all on the same block. Down on Washington Street. You can take your pick, sir. Old
Washington-
Ron knows the way.
Washington Street, of course, the only named street in the town. He made his way there and dropped them off. Meanwhile, in a different part of town, of course, by now it was just about early morning, and Hank Mankiewicz was rising out of his bed to a chipper Laura Schuster who prepared breakfast, and he had had another one of his dreams and was in a foul mood.
I got coffee for you, dear.
Oh, that's swell, Laura. I need it. My head's pounding like a sack of nails is rattling around inside it.
Oh, Hank, not again.
Yeah, I had that dream again.
When will it end?
I don't know. I think maybe it's this town. I don't think I should have come back to this flea bag. Gloucester Worcesterport barely deserves a name.
But I'm here. I'm in Gloucester Worcesterport. I've been waiting for you all these years. Darling, here, have a little jam on your toast today. I know you don't usually take jam, but we can splurge.
I don't know if we can afford it, Laura. I don't know if we can afford a splurge.
Well, maybe they could. He did have some hope today. He had his job interview. He just needed to put on his clothes properly and get out there.
Darling, I put out a new bar of black soap for you to get all cleaned up. You know, you can shave with it. And in fact, black soap is so powerful, it actually makes you feel more confident.
Oh, really? Let me try a little. I could use a little boost. Yeah, let me get behind my ears and under my nose, and let me shave it all clean. Whoop-de-doodle, I feel like $200.
That's right, because you use black soap with blackulin.
Yes, and now that I have my specially made pants to cover up my prosthesis, I don't feel ashamed at all.
He limped his way down the steps as she bid him a fond farewell, with her usual good luck gesture.
Good luck, darling! I'm waving the cat. I know how you love that.
All right, goodbye, Mr. Fluffles.
I'll be waiting here with the freshly made cherry pie.
And I'll be back with a paycheck.
In his left hand, he was holding, of course, the folded newspaper with the employment section. Dishwasher wanted.
And dishwasher you shall have.
An hour later, he found himself in front of that old coffee shop run by Janet Baggett.
All right, buck up, Hank Mank. Everyone wants you. You can do this job.
Why, hello, and welcome to Baggett's Cafe. How may I help you?
Oh.
I'm Janet Baggett.
Good morning, Miss Baggett. Hank Mankiewicz here.
Hank
Pleasure to meet you.
Mankiewicz, she knew exactly who that was, why the local rag had told his story about his heroic effort in the war.
Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Mankiewicz. It's an honor, frankly. I know all about you, your heroics. Why, you're one of our boys, and I'd be proud to serve you a free coffee, even though we can hardly afford it.
She rapped her knuckles on his leg.
Sorry, I just had to hear.
Yeah, it's all true. But I appreciate the cup of coffee, and frankly, times are tough for me too, hero or no. I could really use a job. I see your help wanted sign there.
Hey, Sweet Cheeks, you want to freshen up this Joe?
I'll be right there, Mr. Arthur.
Hey, don't call the lady by names like that.
Gee, you're too good for a joint like this, Mr. Mankiewicz, but...
Maybe it was just what this joint needed. Somebody famous.
But if you're really hard up, why, I could see festooning the place with red, white, and blue streamers and perhaps running an ad in the paper saying that we have a real live war hero washing dishes.
That's right. They could have an event. She'd call it...
I'll call it Coming Home Day.
Yes. Coming Home Day.
I've never had a more brilliant idea.
If it'll help your business and put food on my table, then let's do it.
Let's shake on it.
Okay. Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry. The other hand.
Yes.
Perhaps that's better.
Well, it's a little unorthodox, but,
It'll do.
yeah.
Hey, this bowl's filthy!
Oh, I'll be
There's a salamander in it!
Oh, dear. That's just Charlie. He won't eat much.
Just a slice of life from an everyday town, wouldn't you say? Why, things seem perfectly normal. Even a little dull. Well, that was about to change. But we'll hear more about that after a word from Ray's Nails.
Oh, boy. I can't wait to get this treehouse built. I'll be the coolest kid in the neighborhood. I can see out over Old Man Wither's house and everything. Now I just got my saw, my 2x4s. Hey, something's missing here.
Hello, Junior!
Who are you?
Ray!
I'm Ray, and these are my nails!
Wow!
Ray!
Why, look at these. They're beautiful. These long silver chamber shafts can really hold these boards together.
Absolutely, and with a patented raised nail ridge, they won't go popping out and crushing your relatives.
Wow, I can't wait to get started. Why, it could be a pirate fortress or a spaceship or anything.
Simmer down, Junior. First, you need to hammer in some nails.
An hour later.
All right. Come on, kids. The party's open.
Yay, I'm a space pirate!
And
Yay!
we owe it all to Ray's Nails.
Thanks, Raised Nails.
Raised nails. Every nail individually measured and inspected for your comfort. Hammer not included. Ladies and gentlemen, we return to our story in Kalawatsa's port, where it was still somewhat early, 8 a.m., but Xavier could not sleep. He had to get out there and follow the lead, the map he was clutching in his hand, and the first-hand account that was written in his own handwriting next to it. Yes, he had to find a certain amphibian.
This looks like the place. It is also familiar. If my amnesia would only clear, and I wasn't forced to read my own journal entries, to attempt to retrace my steps to the swampy ground of Gloucester Worcester Port.
He wasted no time and took his spelunking case, his jar that was prepared to hold samples, and, of course, his baguette. He rushed down the stairs with Bort lumbering by his side as always.
Bort, not so lumbery!
And they would just simply follow the map. It seemed easy enough.
Here we are. I remember drawing this circle, and now if I look, there's a dotted line leading us to the west of town, and then a mysterious other parallelogram.
Yeah, it was so simple. In fact, the clearing full of reeds. That technically wasn't a clearing because it was full of reeds. He pushed his hands and pulled them back, the reeds, like a curtain of green reeds.
Simply draw this aside and
see what... There it was, his memory snapped back. The pond he had discovered when he was 22.
Ah! Oh, mon Dieu!
The smelly frogs.
Ah!
He had found their hiding place.
I will grab you and shove you into my specially prepared jar.
If only he could remember the danger associated with it.
There we are, I'll put you in. What a strange ichorous substance on my hands. I'm sure everything will be fine. I'll go 3 of you, and 4, and 3. There we are.
He looked over to Bort, whose arms were full to the neck of toads.
Good work, Bort. Now science will be forced not to laugh at us.
No. And now cookies. Cookies.
Bort, what is going on? You seem addled, as if your head is filled with some strange fumery.
In fact, something had changed. His arms lolled to his sides. The frogs spilled down like so many wet frogs back in their pond, and they seemed to laugh at him.
Hey! Don't laugh at me, I'm a scientist with 3 degrees.
Yes. Bort seemed off, even for Bort. And as he focused on the one humanoid in the area, Xavier Labrandu, he took one giant step towards him.
Bort, what's the matter? You are walking menacingly.
You look like a fly.
What?
His eyes bulged in an unusual way, and the stench, the stench.
Bort, no! No!
He grabbed him by the arm and started licking him furiously.
This is sort of pleasant, but completely inappropriate. Bort, I must wrench myself away from you.
He could wrench himself away if he was willing to part with his right wrist.
Luckily, I'm ambidextrous.
He slipped out just barely. Bort was rushing after him. Through the swamps.
Bort, no!
To the forest.
None!
There was only somewhere he could hide. There, a back door.
I'll rush in here.
There. Where was he? A kitchen?
But I smell greens and boiling pork fat.
And it was then that he came face to face with Hank Mankiewicz as the door behind him shuddered.
What are you doing in here?
Listen, my friend. Take this jar of toads and guard it with your life.
They smell horrible. I'm not taking them at all.
I don't have time to explain, but if you don't, well, no, I'm actually explaining. I don't have time!
What's that pounding on the door?
Meanwhile, in the front part of the cafe, one Laura Schuster had come, entering to see her husband at work, maybe. Just for that first time, she was excited and had her best dress and pocketbook with her. But she had greeted Janet Baggett with the warm familiarity they had had since high school.
Oh, hello, Janet, darling.
Hello, Laura. Welcome. I'm so pleased that Hank is working here. It's just splendid.
I can't thank you enough. Just between you and I was getting very, very nervous.
Oh, heavens, why, he's doing us a favor.
Oh, I love the decorations you've put out. That's so kind of you.
Laura?
Yes?
Is everything all right at home?
Oh, how can you ask that? Is it showing? I try to keep everything in, but it's just so hard. It's just so hard.
She told her everything, the nightmares, the erratic behavior, the prostheses.
Oh, it's horrible. There's nightmares every single night, and he leaves his prosthesis by the door.
And before they knew it, 10 minutes had passed, and the door rang again as Ron Eggerdahl had come in, finishing his shift for the day.
Oh, darling, I'm so sorry.
Boy, was it a tough night. Oh, hi, ladies.
He was just about to tell them a funny story when there was a pounding at the front door, and 2 men rushed in from the kitchen.
So, there I was. 2 gentlemen.
What?
Oh!
Janet! There's trouble. We gotta hide these toads. We gotta bar the back door.
Oh, the stench!
That's not sanitary.
No, listen, I don't have time to explain.
They all recognized him, so his credibility was obvious.
Wait a minute.
I picked you up at the camp a few days ago.
And recognized him as a scientist as well.
I saw you in the papers. You're that famous French
Biologist, yes, I am.
I've got a copy of the paper right here.
Yes.
They unfolded it and slowly read it.
Dr. Xavier
But there was no time!
He's French and he's a scientist. Isn't that enough?
Yes. Listen, I am the discoverer of the giant fluffy otter and the tiny musical mouse of Madagascar.
You're certainly accomplished.
I don't mean to be disrespectful, but science is nice and all, but somebody's got to solve all these missing midget children that have been gone missing from our town of Worcester, Gloucestershire.
I think I have the solution right here in this novelty jar.
The jar of toads?
Yes, the toad-shaped jar of toads.
There's no midget children in that jar.
Aren't there?
They looked closely.
Look
Yes.
at their faces.
They weren't toads after all. They were just covered in dirt. They were small midget children with bulging eyes.
Horrible!
Yes, I know. They've been reduced to 1/8 of their normal size.
But why, Doctor? What sort of insidious plan would do them to these innocent children?
It was just then that a giant fish shattered the front door window. It was Bort, and he was already 1/2 of his original size.
Listen, ladies, I know he's not very large, but he's still very intimidating.
And he smells horrible.
Yes, that will increase.
It's horrifying. He's shrinking right in front of us.
What does it mean? What does it mean, Ron?
Well, I don't know. I'm just a taxi driver. I see a lot of crazy things, and I'm no egghead like this guy over here.
Hank sensed danger and, of course, snapped into action. It was as if he was in battle all over again.
Well, all I need is this kitchen knife between my teeth and this helmet. I'm going after him.
Is this your kneecap?
Well, give me that too.
All right, I'll screw that back on.
Okay, to the left, to the left.
He rushed toward Bort, and they squared off. Bort in an animalistic, frog-like way.
I lost my sense of smell, among other things, so I ain't afraid of you.
No, he wasn't afraid, but Bort wasn't afraid either. He simply laughed and said something.
You are going to be just like me.
And though Hank felt he was safely at a distance, Bort's mouth opened, his jaw practically unhinged, and a giant tongue rolled out and snapped at Hank.
No! It's horrible!
He grabbed it with both hands.
I got you by the tongue.
They rolled around. What would happen? We'll find out after a brief message from Drake's Chicken Rocks.
Honey, I brought the boss home for dinner unexpectedly. I hope that's all right.
Why, that's perfectly fine, dear. I'm ready. Ready for any such surprise.
I know you always cook something delicious, and always in plenty.
That's because of my secret weapon. These.
At the end of that dinner...
Well, Johnson, this was delicious. I think someone's getting a promotion.
All right. I hope it's all due to the main course cooked by my lovely wife.
But how did you get this dish so tender?
Why, these are Drake's Chicken Rocks.
What?
Listen to them. This is how they come in the bag. They sound hard, like rocks. But if I just pop them in some boiling water, there's one. There we go. And now two.
15 minutes later.
See?
And then they're 100% digestible.
It's like real food.
Thanks, Susan, and thanks, Drake's
Chicken Rocks.
Drake's Chicken Rocks.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have Drake's Chicken Rocks every night for dinner, and I couldn't resist having them for breakfast and lunch as well. But please, always boil them in water first, or they may be dangerous. Thanks, Drake's Chicken Rocks. We return to our story in the middle of a harrying struggle between Hank Benaquist and Bort, or what was left of Bort's humanity, and his tongue was wrapped around Hank's neck, and they were drawing him closer and closer.
No! You crazy fish! You're not gonna get me!
I'm not a fish, I'm an amphibian.
And with that, his jaws snapped over Hank's head, and swallowing him in 2 bites.
No! Can I get another slice of pie?
And with Bort's final belch, you could hear Hank's last 2 words.
Today's specials.
The crowd was stunned. They rushed back into the kitchen and closed the door to protect themselves. They had to come up with some sort of plan to survive.
What's happening? Tell me this is a dream. Tell me it's a nightmare, Ron.
Snap out of it, Ed. Snap out of it.
Here, let me slap her. I can slap her in the French way as well. Also, this is a slap I learned in Belgium.
Stop! I'm calm.
This is an Australian slap. It's because it's
I
down
can't
under.
take it anymore.
Well, places you've been to, Doctor.
Yes, I have. Listen, we don't have time for more slappery. We must gather ourselves together lest we also become terrible smelly toads.
But Janet had reached for a cup of water to refresh herself and inadvertently grabbed the sample jar of toad.
Oh, I'm so... It's the only thing that will calm me down.
Janet!
Janet, what have you done?
Wait, no, that's the toad water!
What? Oh, no. Oh.
She felt unusual.
I feel strange.
Look at her eyes!
I feel slimy suddenly.
Look at the webbing developing between her fingertips!
Oh, it's hideous! My tongue feels
They
so
had
long.
to put her out of her misery before the change was complete.
Do something!
Ron!
Quick, hand me that pan!
Come here!
I can't. It's my own girlfriend.
Boil some water, quickly!
I love you, Ron. I just want to wrap my arms around
Don't
you
fall for it, Ron!
and kiss you with my tongue.
Janet, please, you gotta snap out of it.
And here's the boiling water!
Forgive me, my love, forgive me.
The only thing twitching were her frog legs in the frying pan.
Oh, holy Hannah, Doctor, do you have an idea what you just caused me to do? My own girlfriend.
I'm sorry, my young man, but if it's any consolation, I'm sure she will later be delicious.
How can you think of food at a time like this?
What?
If we don't figure out something soon, the frogs will surely have our hides.
Well, first of all, they're toads, and second, the French are noted for their strange cuisine.
You speak
But
of...
Laura suddenly spoke up. She had an idea why the back door was a clear exit.
Yes?
I had fainted. I apologize. I thought I saw my husband get eaten by a giant toad, and I passed out. But certainly he's alive, right? He's right outside this door, isn't he?
Yes, of course. He's fine. Everything will be fine. Listen, boil some more water just in case. Yes,
She,
all is well.
in a daze, made her way towards that back door. Why, he couldn't have made his way around that quickly anyway, so Xavier wasn't worried. She might as well leave. She'd be safer out there.
I think I just need some fresh air, and certainly my husband will come home. He came home from the war. He'll come home from wherever he is now.
She took a first step out onto that soft, mushy, slimy, croaking grass.
Oh, the grass is so soft. Oh, it's tickling my ankles.
Why, there was no grass back there. It was an asphalt parking lot, but it was covered in toads. She was horrified to death.
No, I'm sure those were merely screams of joy for being free.
I guess so. That fresh air can be very relaxing at a
Yes,
time
it
like
certainly
this.
can. But it's just you and me left here in the diner. We have to put an end to this. Oh, but he was my best friend. He has saved my life on many occasions.
Look, Doctor, I can sympathize. I'd put my own girlfriend out of her misery.
Oh, that's right. Yes, we do have many things in common.
Sometimes sweet death can be its own reward, a relief from such pain and torment. But now it's time for you to start spilling the beans. How did these crazy frogmen come to be?
Listen, my amnesia has just miraculously ended. Oh, there it goes. Oh.
He could explain the curse quite simply, or the biological process, whichever it was.
Listen, I assume you're familiar with the process of evolution?
Indeed.
Yes, that organisms move from a simpler to more complex form, and that they will do anything to survive, and that survival trait will breed true.
So you're saying that these frogs have gained some sort of intelligence, and they can be more advanced than we humans could ever be?
I didn't think of that, but it seems likely. Also, by using their strange Icarus covering, they can turn other people into themselves, thus outbreeding the swamp fox, their natural enemy.
Is there no hope, Doctor? Do they have no weaknesses?
Swamp fox? Why, that's funny. Ron kept a pet swamp fox in his taxi cab.
Look, being a taxi driver, I see tons of crazy things in my time.
Sure!
And you never know what type of burglar or crazy hoodlum could come at you on the streets.
Yes!
Which is why, for safekeeping, I always keep a swamp fox in my trunks.
Of course!
Yes!
It makes perfect sense!
The only problem is, the road between this door and my taxi cab outside is probably covered with all those creatures.
Well, if we go to the front door, Bort should be about 1/6 of his normal size by now. If we just use this spatula, we should be able to poke him away from us for long enough to get to the back of your taxi.
They rushed out the front door, and yes, Bort indeed was 1/6 of his normal size. Xavier lifted the spatula and slapped it down, but what he hadn't anticipated was that Bort's strength was now 32 times his original strength.
Wait,
he's taking this badge from your head, Doctor. He's using it against you now.
He sliced off part of his tiny mustache.
Ow! Oh, it took me a while to grow that.
Oh, the horror.
He's chopped off his knees.
Ow!
You wait here. I'll get the swamp fox. It's our
legs.
only hope.
Well, take me with you, you... Oh, what an American.
Ron ran to his cab, dashed in and closed the door behind him, watching Xavier get chopped down bit by bit.
Oh, my thighs! Oh, my groin!
His screams, I can't get them out of my head.
He pulled down the back seat so he could get access to the trunk and pulled out his swamp fox, which he had named Fondly.
All right, Fondly, get over here. Look, I know I haven't called on it too many times. I know I haven't fed you that much, but right now, this small little Mortal Squampin's poor town needs your help. Come on, if there's still time, we can save the doctor.
He threw the swamp fox out the window and drove away. What would happen to this town? What were the last thoughts of each of our characters tonight? Let's hear them. First, Hank Mankiewicz as he died.
I wouldn't mind being a frog or a toad as long as I didn't have no prosthesis no more.
Laura Schuster.
Now that I'm a frog, I can have more than one baby at a time.
Janet Baggett.
I never ever got to get married. It's the worst tragedy of all.
Xavier Labrandu.
I would so much rather be a hideous toad than keep getting beat in the groin by a spatula.
And of course,
I'm really Belgian.
Bort was still alive, but he had a final thought as he was king of the frogs. As he watched the cab slowly drive away, he knew that that victim would not get away.
There won't be anybody left when I'm done. Just me and the swamp fox.
He petted the swamp fox, who was a natural friend to the midget. And that concludes our horror for tonight, The Smelly Toad. Liquid Radio players are Brian Giovanni, Kimberly Lewis, Dave Cox, Peahl, Steve Benaquist, Gary Ray, Jonathan Green on keyboard. I'm Craig Tollifson. Thank you, Dan, Josh in the booth, and Elliot. Please visit our website, liquidradioplayers.com, and come see us again next week for another special edition of the ACME Radio Hour. Thank you and good night.